He's Sean Payton, the New Orleans Saints head coach. Sean, we were just talking during the commercial break. You're Chicago, north side of Chicago, growing up in the 80s. So we were wondering your favorite band. And before you tell us, I'll give you a sample here. Fritzy, Sean Payton's favorite band growing up?
Was Aerosmith.
Aerosmith. McLovin?
Oh, definitely Van Halen.
Van Halen. Seaton?
AC/DC.
All right. Paulie?
Going off the board, I'm going to go REO Speedwagon.
REO Speedwagon. I would hope that Coach would have better music taste than, say, the Stones or Zeppelin, somebody like that. But I'm going to go Coach's favorite band, Van Halen.
Man, I tell you what, REO kind of came in as like a bronze, but Cheap Trick would have been.
Oh, Chicago. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been. We saw them live. I remember in Naperville, there's a college, North Central College. They performed at like a field house there. And that was probably just prior to them hitting it. So Cheap Trick and Rush would have been on. The cassette tape you had that you pushed in. In fact, the guy that invented this just passed away this week. But you pushed your cassette tape in, you rewound it, you set it to the song you wanted to be hearing when you pulled up into your high school parking lot.
What were you driving?
I was driving a Chevy Cavalier, and the song was Tom Sawyer.
We had Geddy Lee on like 4 years ago talking baseball because he's such a huge baseball fan. And he collects, he's got all kinds of memorabilia there. So a Chevy Cavalier, and then you got Rush,
Rush Tom Sawyer going.
Did you have your Letterman jacket on being the quarterback in high school?
No, I didn't. Here's why, Dan. I didn't start my junior year, so I only started my senior year, and so it was a Letterman's coat that just had like one varsity letter in the upper left, and aside from like the ribbon my mom gave me or something, it was kind of empty.
How many scholarship offers did you have?
Probably around 5, all of them to the directional, Eastern, Northern, Southern, South, all of those schools. But, look, more than I expected, having only started my senior year.
Who plays quarterback now the way you played in high school?
Gosh. That kid at Notre Dame is pretty scrappy. I was kind of. I mean, he's obviously a much better quarterback than I ever thought about being. But
Ian Book.
Yeah, he's pretty interesting to watch on tape. He finds a way to win. So I think I was that kind of sprint out, move around a little bit. I had fun. I had a tremendous, and still is, he lives in the area, J.R. Bishop, a tremendous coach who was a huge impact on my life.
You threw for over 10,000 yards.
And that was in college then.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah, so Al Moldy at college. I was a much better college player than high school player.
Oh, okay. 10,000 yards is a lot.
Yeah, we were starting to get into that one-back offense that at the time in those early 80s, it was like foreign to teams. We'd look at some Big Sky film because they were doing it. And who knew? It ended up being, I followed Mike Shanahan. He was there a few, 4, 5, 6 years prior. I just saw him this summer. We were sharing some stories. And then later, Romo came through there. And then after that, Garoppolo came through there. And it was a great place to go to school.
Who's the most impactful college coach as far as offense goes that you can remember that he changed college football? Because I thought about Mouse. There was Mouse Davis.
He was at Portland State, the run and shoot.
June Jones.
So there were a bunch of June Jones. He was super. I would also, you could go to that Georgia Southern University of Hawaii Navy Air Force strain of like a version of the Wishbone. Those guys. I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name.
Well, there
He
was
the head coach.
Irk Russell was at Georgia Southern, I think.
Yeah, it was that tribe. There was someone else. I would say this, though. I think I've got the winner.
Okay.
LaVell Edwards.
At BYU.
Yeah. What he was doing in college, he was on, like, right at when Bill Walsh was doing some of the split back and advance. LaVell Edwards by far.
Yeah. Had a lot of quarterbacks go through there. We're talking to Sean Payton, the Saints head coach. When did you know that Brees was going to retire?
I knew after the season. A season ago, he had thought about it. In fact, he and I had a good visit in our office and discussed it. And I would have bet, Dan, a year ago that was something. I know that was something he was strongly considering, and yet he had enough time to get away and think about, playing another season. And ultimately, that rest and time away and time with his family, I think, helped him arrive at the decision of coming back. And so it was almost understood that, hey, he came back. At least from my perspective, I felt like this was going to be his last year, and yet, you kind of go year to year. I think with someone that's done it so long, and then we kind of got to a spot where we touched base, and I'm like, hey, have you thought about when you're going to announce it? And look, he was clever enough, and it dawned on me the other day. I turned to Doug Miller, our PR guy. I said, Doug, what date is Sunday? And he looked at me. He's like, it's the 15th. I said, or the 14th, whatever date.
Yeah.
I said, what date did we sign Drew? And it was exactly 15 years. And I'm like, I've been answering that question for the last 3-4 weeks because he wanted to time it up. And it's so like him.
He is the most competitive guy I've ever been around, Coach. And I've been around a lot of people down through the years. And I wondered if that competitor could surrender and just say, I'm not going to play football. You got a great team. You got a great relationship. It's hard for these guys to walk away now. Like, do you think they were second guessing that Drew actually gave it thought of maybe I try to do this one more time?
Yeah, I'm sure. But I would say this about him. He's exceptionally competitive, and I would agree with you. This environment that's so unique relative to every day coming to work. I think one of the bigger challenges for anybody when they finish is, I watch you guys come to work in high tops and sweatpants and pullovers, and that we get to wear the same stuff and go to work every day, and it's not the normal world. It's not, and so, but along the lines of that, I think he's so driven, not just athletically, but from a family standpoint, and his children are getting to those ages where, you don't want to miss certain events. And there's so much more to him. And I'm not speaking for him, but I know he's extremely excited about the challenge at NBC, and he's got a lot of projects going on. But I think that that just the age of where his kids are at, he's he'll come back from the summer and the fall and talk about this game where his kids were playing a flag game against Phillip Rivers' team, and Phillip's kids were on the other. And he and Phillip have a good relationship, but I mean, I've seen him coaching this flag football, and it's pretty impressive.
I still go back to you nearly drafted Patrick Mahomes, that Andy Reid goes up and gets him, and how that could have changed the NFL, Sean.
Yeah, those decisions every year happen, and so often you just never hear about them. I've been in draft rooms in New York or in Dallas where you're able to get a player you want, or it's amazing how that can just change. If you knew then, or if you knew then what you know now, then how you would have obviously done things. We were focused at 11. We were focused on 9 because if 9 was not Lattimore or Mahomes, we knew we had one of the two players that we had inside that cylinder.
And then you hear that when you heard that, and the Chiefs have announced a trade.
Oh, right away.
You
right
knew?
away. I knew it was Patrick. Yeah. No, that was a given. That was a given. And
man.
And then look, we took. I mean, right away we took Lattimore, and we just wanted to make sure we passed. 9 was the team, and
man.
you look. Obviously, if you're 2 picks away, you want the team picking prior to the 2 picks to take someone other than the 2 you have left, and that's what happened. I don't think we've ever truly answered the question, though, Boom, if the Chiefs took a different player or Buffalo, whoever had that pick, stayed. We were debating. We didn't think Lattimore would get to 11. We thought Mahomes had a chance to, but we didn't think Lattimore would. And so, some of the challenges are that immediate need for corner. We've got Brees or the quarterback, but we never got to that position. But that would have been the discussion.
Yeah, that's when you start to look at when do you draft a quarterback successor? Like Green Bay when they took Jordan Love, and who knows if here's Rodgers as the MVP? Like it's tricky, and like you're fortunate they have Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. Everybody knew who was the starting quarterback, but these other teams, it's when you draft that quarterback and then how that quarterback reacts to what you just did in the draft is pretty delicate.
Yeah, it's challenging, and here's why. When you have an elite quarterback, you're looking at, and I'm not going to use the example of toys, but I am a little bit. Immediately there's someone that can help him still in his quest versus the Christmas gift that's going to be corduroys that you're going to need to wear, but you're not going to need them right away.
All right.
Does that make sense, though?
Is Jordan Love corduroys?
To be determined. I mean, I don't know. I think that I'm saying that in a positive way.
Oh,
it's
okay.
like we got to the night before Christmas, open one gift, and you wanted to open something you could use or play or whatever. You didn't want to open and
socks.
And I think some of the challenges at that position. And here's the thing, and I think it happens every year. And I hear it and I cringe. Well, we'll get one of these 3 quarterbacks at the top of the draft. Well, who do you like?
Exactly.
And if you don't like the other, I probably don't like the other in the 2nd or 3rd round either.
I'm all in with you. I always say, don't take a quarterback. Take the quarterback you want.
Stop. Amen. Listen, find one you love, and if not, keep waiting and find one. But yeah, don't get me started on that position. I think it's a difficult position to evaluate, and I think a lot of teams. I mean, I think there are a lot of mistakes made in the process, and I think that this year's another interesting class with some exciting players, and the offenses at the college level are doing such a good job that these guys are getting at the line of scrimmage, getting trained earlier than ever before.
Are you set at the quarterbacking position?
I think we are. And look, there'll be a few calls we make, but our goal coming into the offseason was to obviously re-sign Jameis. Taysom played for us in 4 games last year, and let those guys go to work. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about those 2. Now there are a few things that may still be out there, but I see those 2 competing for this position.
Diana Rossini, the ESPN reporter, said that you love Taysom Hill more than her husband loves her. Yeah,
listen, she's a little bit over the top with that statement, I think.
Just a little?
Just a little. I like Taysom because he loves football, and I like Jameis because he loves football, and those guys are fun to be around.
If the season started today, Sean,
Yeah, here we go.
I know. Look, I buttered you up for the last 12 minutes. I mean, come on.
I'm choosing the corduroys, Dan.
Who's your starting quarterback? Give me your depth chart right now. Who is the who's
Well,
number
those two
one?
are going to be sitting there. I mean, obviously, I've told both of them, hey, it's going to be, the two of you are going to compete for this position, and they understand it, and they'll come in. We've already had a chance to see both of them to some degree. I think last year was important for us relative to Jameis. We had Taysom in the building, but it gave us a year to evaluate him, and it also gave him a year to evaluate us. And I think that was important.
Good to talk to you, and thanks for joining us as always. We appreciate your time.
Outstanding. Thank you, Dan.
All right, that's Sean Payton, Saints head coach.